Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas. Today we're here to do a server overview on Gigabyte R283-ZF1-AAL1. Let's get going. Hey, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the Gigabyte R283-ZF1-AAL1. Do us a favor, if you find anything that helps you in this video, click that like, smash that subscribe. All right, let's hop in. This video is going to cover CPUs, RAM, drives, supported operating systems, RAID, network cards, plus a bunch more. So let's just go ahead and hop into CPUs. All right, let's talk CPUs. If you know me, I love AMD CPUs, so anything that has AMD CPUs is already a plus for me. So this has two CPUs inside. It is the SP5 socket. That means it's going to be using the 9004 Genoa and the 9005 Turin. People ask us all the time, hey, what CPUs do you recommend? Well, that really depends on your application. So what we like to do is break it down into three categories: our low end, our value, and our high end. And they're kind of self-explanatory, right? The low end are going to be the budget-friendly, lower specs. The value is going to be better specs than the low end, lesser than the high end, and going to be more budget-friendly, but more expensive or less expensive, right? Now, sometimes it's not always a perfect science because some of the stuff we put in the value might actually still be more expensive than even some of the stuff in the high end, but those are the F systems, or the F at the back. Those are going to be the faster speed, even though the F doesn't stand for fast, I like to think it does, but those are going to be the faster speed CPUs as a whole. And again, we just list them all up here, some of the ones that we like, even though there's plenty more that are compatible. And you can max out at 384 cores with this box using 292 core CPUs, so that's pretty awesome, right? All right, let's talk about memory. It takes DDR5 memory. There are 24 DIMM slots inside, 12 DIMMs per CPU. That means there's one DIMM per memory channel. This is actually really important when it comes to speed. And that brings us to, what speeds can I use? Well, you can use 4800, 5600, or all the way up to 6400. And this is one time that 6400 can actually work because of the one DIMM per channel. So if you look back to another series or another video that we just dropped, which was the R283-ZK0, on that one, because there's 48 DIMM slots and 2 DIMMs per channel, the highest speed you can go is 5200, even with a Turin proc. But with this machine, you can get all the way up to 6400 speed using a Turin CPU or a 9005 series CPU. Whereas if you're using a Genoa, the fastest that you're going to get is 4800 speed. So there is a big difference when you drop in a Turin from a RAM speed standpoint with this machine, because yes, you can get the advantage of the 6400 speed. All right, what sizes can I use? You can go as low as a 16 gig, a 32 gig, a 48 gig, a 64 gig, a 96 gig, or all the way up to 128 gigabyte. And since this is DDR5 memory, there's really only one type of RAM that you're going to be using, and that is going to be ECC Registered. So you can put a max of 3 terabytes of RAM using 24 128 gigabyte DIMMs at 6400 speed with Turin and 4800 speed with Genoa. All right, that's going to bring us to drives. So there are 16 drives in the front as far as your U.2, U.3 options, or your 2.5-inch options, however you want to look at it. So there's 16 in the front. 4 of those are going to be just NVMe. 4 of them are going to be NVMe or SAS or SATA. And 8 of them are going to be SAS or SATA. So those are going to be your interfaces for those 16 ports. You will also have 2 M.2s, one that's a 2280 and one that's a 2280/22110. These are going to be NVMe PCIe 3.0. Now I do want to note that if you do use both M.2s, it will actually disable one of the SATA drive ports in the front. So you basically can, if you're not using all 16, then it's okay to use both M.2s, which you might want for a boot drive, for instance. So just note that going in, that you would actually be down one slot if you were using both M.2s. So now let's talk about the interfaces as a whole, the speeds, and let's put them on a little handy chart so you can kind of see the different drive options and compare everything. All right, so there are 5 types of drives that you can essentially use with this machine, but realistically, there's probably only 2. And I'm talking about the 2.5 inches as a whole. So the 2 ones that you're really going to use are going to be SATA solid-state drives and NVMe solid-state drives. You can technically also use a SAS solid-state drive, and you can also use a SATA or SAS hard drive. But those last three options that I just named, realistically, you're probably not going to use. And Gigabyte thinks the same because they don't even put them on their spec sheet with the actual options. They say you can use them, but they don't put the maxes and all the stuff because they're like, why would you use that, right? So with a SATA solid-state drive, we're going to start there. You're going to get 6 gigabit per second. On Gigabyte spec sheet, it shows 3.84 is the max. We put in 7.68 TB, and I sure wouldn't be surprised if someone put in a 15.36 and it worked just fine as well. With NVMe, you're going to get 32 gigabit per second, and how do we get there? Well, it's a Gen 5, so that's awesome. Not 32 gigabit, I'm not a huge fan of that number because in comparison, a Gen 4 is 16, and that's way faster than a SAS that's 24, and so the numbers don't always really add up or make sense, but the NVMe, just generally speaking, is always faster. It's going to have faster read and write and lower latency, so it's going to be the winner. But the NVMe on Gigabyte spec sheet shows 61 terabytes is the max. That's the most we've put in ourselves. We have seen some people showing online 122 terabytes is the max that you can put in, and again, we've only put in 61 terabytes. I think I said 61 gigabytes, but only 61 terabytes is the most we've put in. If you have put in 122, drop a comment down below just to let everyone know, and I'd sure love to know what you're using it for because that's a hell of a drive right there. All that being said, NVMe is the real winner, and if you're going to the hard drives, which again, I don't understand really why you would do that, you're going to get 7.2K for SATA hard drive, 7.2K, 10K, or 15K, and these are revolutions per minute, so they're spinning around and around and around. Keep in mind they're a mechanical device, and those ball bearings will wear out over time and fail, which makes the SSDs not only more reliable, better performance, they're just the best option if you ask me. But all that being said, now the max sizes for those are 2 terabyte and 2.4 terabyte. So I mean, kind of loser of a drive, to be honest. All that being said, Gigabyte didn't even put it on their spec sheet because they expect you to use the NVMe ports as really the main thing for here, and potentially some extra SATA drives. And one thing I did want to note, if you were using SAS, you do need to have a hardware RAID controller. All right, next up is RAID. So with RAID, we're going to honestly kind of gloss over this a little bit, and we're just going to show you a nice little comparison chart. It's going to have some LSI cards. Some of our personal favorites are actually the Grade cards. The Grade cards are essentially a GPU with software that Grade has come out with that will let you do NVMe RAID. So it's one of the potential things for the future for people wanting NVMe RAID, even though you don't necessarily need RAID for your NVMe. That's kind of the point of NVMe. But if you're using a big GPU server, that might be something that you really want protection on. If your data is super critical, that might be something that you're really want is to have that NVMe RAID, and we completely understand. So Grade is a great option, and we are an authorized partner for Grade. So if you are looking for an NVMe RAID solution, please reach out to sales@cloudninja.com. We'd love to help you out with that. All right, next up, and certainly not least, let's talk GPUs. So you can put in 4 double width GPUs for this box. Yes, you can put in 4 double width GPUs for this box. We're going to throw up a little chart right now. So that's going to be L4s, that's going to be L40Ss, there's A100s down there. Now, not all these on this list are double width, let's also note that. But here is a good list of compatible GPUs for this box. Now, if you are looking for a GPU system, please email us at sales@cloudninja.com. If you're looking for 8B200s, 8B300s, even though those aren't quite out yet, we would love to quote you on some of these higher end GPU servers and some of the lower end ones for that matter as well. That is a big part of our business, and a lot of what we're doing is helping customers lower their pricing on GPU servers, and even lowering it 1 to 2% on some of these boxes is massive savings because they are extremely expensive. So definitely give us an option or an opportunity to quote, and will cost you nothing. Quote's free, all right? So appreciate the opportunity. Now let's hop on to power supplies. All right, so there are 2 2700 watt 80 plus titanium power supplies. They are redundant and in the back. All right, let's talk network cards. So for networking, there's actually not any built-in network ports for this box. They really saved as much space as they could to be able to stuff in GPUs. So here's kind of the lowdown for this. You're going to have one management port that is built in But outside of that, you are going to need to add in a card. So there's one OCP 3.0 that you can use, and there's technically 5 PCIe slots, but realistically 4 of those slots you're probably going to want to dedicate to GPUs, which leaves one open PCIe slot to be able to use for a network card. Now, if you're not using all your slots for GPUs, then I mean, technically you could throw in some other network cards, but let's be realistic. If you're looking at this box, you're probably looking at it for GPUs because that's what it's built for. So all that being said, you're probably going to drop in 2 to 4 GPUs in those PCIe slots and have one extra PCIe slot left over to be able to toss in a card or an OCP 3.0, which should be plenty, but depending on what you're doing, you'll have to make sure that you manage that properly and manage your PCIe slots appropriately so that you don't, accidentally have not the wrong specs because you thought you had more room than you actually did. So just an important note before you build this out. So what interfaces and speeds can I use? Well, a ton of interfaces. You can use RJ45, which is just another way of saying Ethernet, SFP, SFP+, SFP28, QSFP, QSFP+, QSFP28, QSFP56, QSFP112, OSFP, fiber channel. There's a lot of different interfaces you can use. Well, what about the speeds? You can do 1 gigabit, 10 gigabit, 25, 40, 50, 100, 200, 400. I mean, there's a lot of different speeds you can use, and if you're using fiber channel, 16 or 32. So those are the overall speeds that you can use. All right, that brings us to supported operating systems. So Windows Server is going to be a popular one out there. Linux, probably even more popular nowadays, and there's going to be a bunch of options. Red Hat, Ubuntu, VMware is technically going to be an option, even though a lot of people are still pretty pissed at them, but VMware is an option, so we're just going to throw up all the supported operating systems right now that you can use. If there's something not on there that you really like, hey, drop a comment down below, let the other users know. If you made it this far, hey, click that like and smash that subscribe. And if you're looking for a custom-built Gigabyte, Supermicro, Asus, ASRock, Dell, HPE, Lenovo, Cisco, especially any GPU servers, please email us at sales@cloudninja.com. That's sales@cloudninja.com. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Take care.